Hey everybody, we're back again today with another classic album song ranking. Joined by Sam St. John, my usual partner. Today's guest is Brian from MASSEY'S Maine Entertainment, and we've chosen to do R.E.M's Automatic for the People. This album right there.
I got to get mine out too. Yes.
There you go. He's got the vinyl. Nice job. So their eighth studio album, 1992, actually went to #2 in the US, #1 in the UK, which I was surprised. But of course, R.E.M. started out as this underground kind of college radio favorite, alternative band, little jangle pop, very eccentric, I think, quirky, brooding at times, some deep, sad lyrics. And they started in 1980 as far as their first record release, and up till 2011, and they sort of disbanded at that point. So the Rock and Roll Hall of Famers. I know, Brian, one of your favorite bands, so awesome to do this one for the folks out there. A different style of music than Sam and I are used to, but we want to cover as many classic albums as we can. So let's start with Brian. What are your recollections of how you first heard of R.E.M. and got into them, and they became one of your favorites?
Started listening to R.E.M. I was actually on my way to boot camp, and I stopped at a little store to pick up some music to listen to with the Walkman I was going to have, in basic training. And I only picked up 2 cassettes, and one of them was Document by R.E.M. The other one was Tunnel of Love, Bruce Springsteen. Both came out that year. So I never, I only knew the one song by R.E.M., but I figured, well, I'd give it a shot, and of course, fell in love with the band. Probably that I just destroyed that cassette. I played it so much, it was just crazy. And I went back and bought all their old catalog and started keeping up with them from that point on, and they just been like a favorite of mine ever since. I enjoy their abstract lyrics, the jangly sound of the guitars. Really like, yeah, sure, they've had some poppy type of stuff that they put out that I'm sure that's been kind of rec exec driven tracks and things like that, but they've been a band that I thought really has stayed true to what they want to do and not really sold out in any way. They just do the music they want to do, and I was really glad when Green and Out of Time and then Automatic for the People had tremendous success, and they became this huge worldwide phenomenon for a while. So it was nice to see.
Absolutely. How about you, Sam? When did you first catch on? And
actually my REM albums that I've bought, they've been I found them in dollar bins and my record store. So those are my first albums. This one and Out of Time being the 2 big ones. I think I first heard them, actually, funny enough, through Sesame Street as a kid. They did the furry happy monsters instead of shiny happy people. And I guess the early 2000s, it was the early 2000s. But I thought that was just a fun little song when I was a kid, and then starting to get into more actual music, like really getting into music. You would hear their names come up with, best jangle pop bands, jangle rock bands, because I was into the Byrds, the Beatles, Petty, obviously, and then listening to R.E.M. They do a great cover of Rock and Roll Star with Roger McGuinn that I thought was really cool. So from that point, it was just slowly getting into their deeper cuts. I know I have another one that I have is New Adventures in Hi-Fi. That one I need to give some more time. I believe that was VCLT from I think maybe from JT over at JT's Record Room.
Yeah.
So I need to give that one more time. It's a darker album, and like Brian said, there's some darker tones to their music. There's stream of consciousness type lyrics. So right up my alley stuff, like Dylan, the Byrds, stuff like that. So yeah, great band. It's kind of a shame they fizzled out, but they were happy with it. It was amicable.
Another one of those bands that had the 4 original members, and they pretty much carried that through until one of them had a brain injury. Am I right about
Bill
that?
Berry, the drummer.
Bill Berry, the drummer. But they didn't have people coming in and out for the most part, like a lot of these bands do. So I like stability. That's definitely an attribute of theirs as well. So what we're going to do is rank these songs in reverse order, 12 to 1. Brian's going to kick it off, and then in the end we'll give the the album and overall score from 1 to 10. So Brian, it's all you. Number 12.
Number 12. Well, this one I thought was going to be kind of a no-brainer. I thought if there was going to be like something maybe we all agreed on, this to me just felt like a filler track for side one. I've got New Orleans Instrumental number 1 here. I still think it's an important song. I think they were looking to fill a little bit of time, but at least it was a nice break in the tone of the album in between Everybody Hurts and Sweetness Follows, 2 tracks that I thought were very dark and morose and melancholy. So I thought it was a little bit of a nice break. So I'm not totally down on the track, but compared to the other 11 tracks on here, it definitely is by far the weakest track on here. So that's what I got at number 12.
Okay, Sam?
Yeah, I agree. It's, you know, like Brian said, not having the actual album, you know, I mean, was this a double album?
No, it actually fit on one album.
It fit on one. Okay, I know it's just under 50 minutes, the album itself, but yeah, it's kind of got this cool like guitar, like tremolo sound to it. The tone is really neat. It's got a little bit of organ, and like Brian said, it's filler is a hard word for it, because it does work with breaking up albums. I mean, I love, you know, Pet Sounds, and there's 2 instrumentals on that, and
Right.
you know, there's instrumentals on classic albums everywhere. So, you know, it is what it is. There's not a lot of depth to it, but I mean, kind of got some cool tones to the instruments. So.
Yeah, it's definitely a hat trick here. We all agree on number 12. I'd consider it a stopgap, but I like Brian's point where it does fill some space between those 2 morose kind of songs. So that makes a lot of sense. And I don't, you know, R.E.M's not an instrumental band. I want Stipe's voice. I want those challenging lyrics to the music. So that's why it's number 12. All right, on to number 11.
Number 11, I've got, and this is where, you know, I mean, this is still a really good track to me. I mean, I got Star Me Kitten here. It's a little bit different sounding. I know that it was supposed to, I mean, R.E.M wanted to make this, you know, drop the F-bomb here and say F me kitten. But I'm pretty sure rec execs probably had a hand in saying no, you know, after coming off of Out of Time, they probably definitely wanted to try to keep them as pop oriented as they could and on record shelves in every type of store. So but I like the haunting sound of the music surrounding. I know it's lyrically, it seems to be about a fragmented relationship, that the only tethering that seems to be keeping the 2 people together is sex. And so I enjoy the lyrics part of it. I guess I just don't, I'm not in love with the instrumentation, and that's probably why I kind of fell down on my list a little bit. So
Very good. Sam?
I'm right there with you, Brian. It's number 11 for me as well. For me, one of the things that turned me off of it was almost like the electronic sounding background vocals.
Yeah.
Just kind of, it's not even dated. It's just like it just doesn't work for me. And it is kind of slow, kind of dirgy. Although I do like how the guitar follows the melody of the song with Stipe's voice. I thought that was kind of neat. You don't always have a lead guitar playing the actual melody of the song. So yeah, Brian kind of hit it with everything. I'll just add on, like I said, the background vocals are kind of what threw me off.
Yeah, I have it number 11 also. That was an easy pick for me because I think the vocals are very muddled. I really can't hear what he's saying without a lyric sheet. And like Brian said, it's about a failed relationship, even divorce, maybe, if it's that tight. I don't like the melody. It's non-existent. It's sort of just rambles a little bit. It's brooding. It doesn't work for me either. So it's number 11. The next 10, I think, are decent to excellent songs for the most part, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that we kind of talked before we started a little bit, Rich, and this is like right here, I'm going, these are all good songs. It's just, you know, somebody had to be higher than the other ones. And it depends on my mood, I guess. So number 10 for me, I went with the heavier song on here. I've got Ignore Land. Definitely probably the most rock oriented. It's it got a little bit of glam elements to it as well, especially in Stipe's delivery. The lyrics are very anti-political lyrics. I think he's talking about, you know, the late Carter Reaganomics, Bush era politics type of stuff. I know the band wasn't happy with the sound at all, and they weren't really happy with the track, so they never played it on tour until like 2008, almost to the time that they broke up. They finally played it live in concert. So even they weren't happy with it. I thought it was a track that probably would have fit better on Monster rather than on Automatic for the People. But I understand sometimes you're trying to change the tone of the album a little bit because this album deals with a lot of dark subject matter. So I can see why they would probably keep it here.
Very good. Sam, you agree?
No, we have our first switch up here. I've got a song called Sweetness Follows is my number 10. Again, another kind of slow acoustic-y kind of song. You've kind of got in the background kind of it's like brass with like low strings. It almost sounds like maybe like some stand-up basses with bows. And then all of a sudden they break into this like grungy almost sounding like guitar break at one point in the song. It's just it completely takes, it's like not related at all to the first part of this song, but some good lyrics that I wrote down. And again, the R.E.M, they're kind of like U2. They'll give everybody credit in the band for writing the song,
right?
But they say it's these little things they can pull you under, live your life filled with joy and wonder. I always knew this altogether thunder was lost in our little lives. Oh, but sweetness follows. That's just a really thought-provoking sentiment. And yeah, it's a good song. Just maybe a little too slow or too dark for me.
Yeah, we have 3 different songs at number 10. I have Monty Got a Raw Deal at number 10. An homage to actor Montgomery Clift, who evidently was, a guy that Stipe, I think, related to maybe growing up. He saw this person on stage and he liked his mannerisms or whatever and built a song around him. And he thought he got a raw deal in Hollywood. Maybe he did. He uses a lot of imagery here, referring to some of Clift's movies. I like the strong drum beat in the song musically. It comes across very nice. It's an interesting song if you're a movie fan like myself. It's just, a guy paying tribute to one of his heroes, a silver screen hero. I don't have a lot to say about it, but it falls into number 10. I think that's where it belongs on my list anyway, as far as my tastes go.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, number 9.
Number nine, I picked a track that I think the band was kind of looking for something a little lighthearted to lift up the darkness of the album. I got Sidewinder Sleeps Tonight here. I know that I thought this is one that I thought would have fit better if they just stuck it on Out of Time rather than leave it on this album. But now I understand when I read about it why the reasoning was that they put it on here to kind of, especially to break up side one when you're coming off a lot of dark subject matter. I know that to get permission to use an interpolation of The Lion Sleeps Tonight for the song, they had to agree to do a cover of The Lion Sleeps Tonight, which they put as the B-side to this single when they actually released it. So it's not a single that I'm in love with, but it's not a single that I hate either. I don't mind when it's playing, and I'll even catch myself singing along with it as well. Even Michael Stipe's weird little that thing that he's trying to copy the tokens with. That's kind of odd and interesting at the same time, but Michael's his own guy. So I got it here at number 9.
Yep. Sam?
Yeah, I've got a different one, number 9. I've got Try Not to Breathe at number 9. The intro to me kind of just at the very beginning sounded a little bit like Norwegian Wood and Boys of Summer. Like it's kind of got this weird like mix of some influences of the band. I don't know. It's really interesting hearing that because I listened to the album twice in the last 2 days and listened to it about an hour ago, and just really hitting me like, oh yeah, that sounds like this. And it's kind of got this cool waltz feel to it in the lyrics. Some lyrics that I wrote down. I will try not to worry you. I've seen things that you will never see. Leave it to memory me. I shudder to breathe. That idea of shuddering to breathe, again, it fits in with the thematic elements of the album, the darkness, the feeling lost, all that stuff that we all go through. So that's number 9 for me.
Good. My number 9 is Sweetness Follows, talked about earlier. A lot of dysfunctional family references to this is that I can pick out. Fragmentation within the family. It's kind of heavy stuff. Fighting and squabbling over little things that can tear families apart. It's another song that is dark for sure, but there is light at the end of the tunnel, and that's where that title comes from. Sweetness follows. After all the bad stuff, sweetness follows. And I do like pretty much the same lyric that Sam highlighted here. It's the little things that can pull you under, like your life filled with joy and thunder. We were all together lost in our little lives. Oh, but sweetness follows. It's a cool song. I do like it. I think it's one that could grow on me and maybe work its way up the list. But that's where I put it today, number 9.
Number 9. Good. Okay, we're on to number 8.
Yep.
I've got Sweetness Follows here at number 8. So we're, at least we're all kind of in the same area
Hey,
here.
ballpark. Yeah.
Yep.
It's one of those songs where I guess I like parts of the arrangement, but then other parts I don't. I like the cello in it, the little marching cello that they have going on in it. But I didn't like the fact that, I know sometimes on tracks you leave out percussions or any type of drumming, but I actually didn't like the fact that there wasn't any type of percussions used on this track. It just kind of drove me a little batty a little bit. I thought it could have used something like that, add a little bit extra texture to it. He said, Stipe said this is the most misunderstood song of his, and that includes Over the One I Love, which, of course is, sarcastic, song, and it's not really a love song at all. But this one here, he said a lot of people thought he was being sarcastic when he was talking about the subject matter in this song, and he was being serious. He was talking about family kind of drifting apart, and then all of a sudden you're pulled back together, in times that are really, really dark. And then are we sincere about those types of things? Are we just kind of going through those motions and we try to reestablish family only in times of of death and things like that?
Yeah.
So I remember the song from Cameron Crowe also used it in the movie Vanilla Sky.
That's
I
true.
remember hearing it in there, which I thought was interesting. Cameron Crowe, he's got a good ear for music, so
He
it was
does.
kind of interesting that he would use the song.
Yeah. Very good. Sam, number 8.
Number 8, it's one that's been mentioned already. Monty Got a Raw Deal. Rich already kind of gave some backstory on it. I really like the 12-string guitar at the beginning. That's kind of finger picking. You don't always hear a 12-string get picked. Well, it's being picked with a pick, I should say, but you don't hear that very often. So that's kind of neat how it starts. And then it's like kind of the slow intro, and then the drums just kick in. And again, I like it because, again, 12-string guitar to me sounds, it's got that jangle to it, which I love.
Yeah.
I think if you add a 12-string to really just about anything, it ups the ante a little bit. Great lyrics. One that stands out to me is, I saw the ocean meet the man, I saw you buried in the sand. A friend was there to hold your hand, said walk on by. Kind of like a good Samaritan story, like, reach out to the person walking by for help. And just, I don't know, just a good track. Again, Rich kind of has already explained it pretty well. So that's my number 8.
Yeah, when I think of that sand and the beach, I think of From Here to Eternity, which Monty Clift was in.
Yeah.
Just an obscure reference.
Yeah.
Yeah. And my number 8 is The Sidewinder Sleeps Tonight. Sonically, I love the song, and I agree with Brian, is trying to break up all the darker tones of the album. But the lyrics are out there, man. Outer space somewhere, bizarre. There's a reference to Dr. Seuss and the Cat in the Hat, I believe, as well. And then his phrasing of the chorus, call me when you try to wake her up, call me, that kind of spitting out there. And you don't really know, unless you have a lyric sheet, what he's saying. At least I don't. But it's a pleasant enough tune, and I do like the energy of it. So I'm going to give it number 8 on my list.
There we go. Numbers, we're up to 7, right?
Yep.
I've got Try Not to Breathe here. I just thought it was kind of interesting that somehow or another R.E.M. finds ways to make something as dark as this song actually can be. I think it has like tones of euthanasia and just shuffling off this mortal coil altogether. I mean, only they can like try to pull something like this off. I think Mike Mills's backing vocals are really good. He's really underappreciated for that, because there is some tracks, if you go deeper into REM's catalog, where Mike Mills actually does some singing and stuff. And I think sometimes he just kind of gets lost in the fact that he does those things and adds that type of tone to the albums. I think this was a good song for where they located it perfect. And I want to talk about, like, song sequencing is so important. When they had this song come in there right off of Drive, and Drive was just one of these things that kind of just easygoing and sucks you into the album a little bit, and then bam, they hit you with what the actual tone of the album is going to be like almost the rest of the way. They did a really good job of doing that. I think the sequencing was perfect on this.
I agree. Sam, number 7.
Number 7 is one we haven't mentioned yet. I don't think. It's Find the River. Again, listening to it for the second time this week, I really drew, again, some more John Lennon almost sounding elements to it, kind of like I mentioned earlier with Norwegian Wood. Again, another, probably maybe the prettiest ballad that's kind of unknown by them. I mean, it's just really a nice ballad. Again, you've got that guitar, but you also have piano, which you don't hear always as prominently in REM stuff. And then you have the accordion, which is fantastic. And that's another thing. The guys in REM, that they could all play anything, you know, the 3 musicians in the group. I mean, you see their names on sessions even today, especially, you know, Mills and McCready. You know, it's not McCready, Buck, yeah, Mills and Buck. But again, one of those pretty songs, sounds like John Lennon. Like, great lyric to me is, me and my thoughts are flower strewn, ocean storm, Bayberry moon. I've got to leave to find my way, watch the roads and memorize this life that passes before my eyes, and nothing is going my way. Again, it's just that feeling that Michael Stipe always had, being an outsider. He's, you know, Michael Stipe was homosexual, so I'm sure he had a lot of, you know, this distance with his people when people found out that this was, you know, what he was going through. So he had that feeling of anxiety always in his music. And again, this is one of those where there's hope, you know, finding the river, but it's still pretty bleak for him. So, but I think it's a great song. I forgot that it was a good, like, as good as it was.
Yeah, that's one that I really put high on my list. I was impressed with it when I heard it again after a couple of years. I have not listened to the album, but we'll get to that. My number 7 is Try Not to Breathe. You guys both had it. Coming to terms with death, kind of acceptance. I like the melody to it. It's very pleasant. Waltz-like is a good term. You know, there's all these little images of death or near death, shivering, eyes of the old. I have lived a full life. The decision is mine. It's almost euthanasia again, whatever. I need something to fly over my grave. They're already thinking about being in the ground and something, you know, an angel, whatever. I will try not to worry you. I will try not to burden. I want you to remember. So all those things that go through your mind when you're near death or approaching the end are in this song. I think it's a well-written song. I like it a lot. Number 7, very dark, but the melody saves it, I think, a lot from being as dark and despairing as it could have been.
Perfect.
So now we're to the top half of the album, which is number 6.
Number 6. Number 6 here, I've got Monty Got a Raw Deal here. I like Peter Buck's work on, I don't know how to say the word exactly. It's called a bouzouki on the track. That's the instrument that he's actually playing on the track. I thought it was really cool. Again, you guys already talked about its allusions to Montgomery Clift, and then there was the play on words with, you know, Monty Hall and Monty Got a Raw Deal type of thing from the game show. I know there's a play on words there. What something that everybody needs to remember is that they always give Michael Stipe the music ahead of time, and he just kind of walks around with headphones on and just like creates these lyrics in his head going with the music, which is, that's, everybody has their own style. I always thought that was very interesting. I like the sound of the guitar, that instrument in it, the guitar, the drumming, everything's really solid on the track. I thought it deserved to be in the top 6 for my list anyway. So
good call. What do you got, Sam, at number 6?
Number 6 for me is Ignore Land. I really like this track a lot, and The version that I'm listening to, but whatever, the reissue was for the CD when it came out. The bass particularly sounds really, really good on this song. It's one of the actual few on this album that actually has that jangle sound to it. After the intro, you get this kind of acoustic sounding jangle to it. I think Brian mentioned earlier it's very political, probably the most political on the album. R.E.M. were always ones to show their feelings politically, and especially Stipe. This is referencing 1979. Talk about marching the Capitol. We talked about this with Nixon, Reagan, or Carter. The super U.S. citizen, super achiever, mega ultra dosing, just all of these adjectives that they're kind of pointing their fingers at the society and the politics above them. So I really like the song a lot. If we do this in a year, this one would probably move forward a little bit more.
Yeah, I have it at number 6 also. I like it a lot. Different sounding than most of the album, as you guys both said. Political, way more energy, biting and slanted lyrics. I mean, where he's at politically. He's ripping Reaganomics and Bush and Carter, that whole span of time. And I like the passion with the F-bombs. I know, it's not for everybody, but he's throwing them in there to let you know how strongly he feels. And the cool chanting of the chorus too. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Ignore. I like that part. It works in the context of the song. It's kind of vitriolic. He's spewing a lot of negative stuff out there, but it's cool. Definitely a classic as far as I'm concerned. Number 6.
Nice. That's a good choice. So
top 5. Here we go.
Number 5. I've got Find the River Here. I know it's a bookend track, which are always important. I always look at the bookend tracks, how you start and how you finish an album. It was released as a single. It charted mildly in the UK, didn't chart in the United States at all. I thought it was perfect timing that it followed up Night Swimming on there. Again, track sequencing is so important here. Kind of smoothed out the edges of the album by having this track last, I think. It's got some dark subject matter that it's kind of alluding to, but still there's the texture of the song is not so much that it just drags you down. It doesn't turn into a Elliott Smith song or anything like that, so melodically I like the keyboard in it quite a bit. So it definitely it's a track that's kind of grown on me over the last couple of years. Before I just kind of disregarded the track as just just one that was on it, but no, I've liked it. I liked it. It's in the top 6 now. So
yeah, that turned out to be the biggest surprise on my list of how high I put it, but we'll get to that. Number 5, Sam.
Number 5 is The Sidewinder Sleeps Tonight. Again, Brian already talked about it, and it's kind of allusions to The Lion Sleeps Tonight, and it was the A-side to that cover. And again, one of those, it's kind of got some humorous lyrics in it, a little bit different again for the album, that uplifting, well, not uplifting, but the more the lighter fare of the album, and kind of to get people to be hooked onto a nice catchy chorus. Like Rich said, you kind of don't really know what he's saying unless you're looking it up on the chorus. But I mean, they mention everything from Dr. Seuss to Nescaf. So just talking about needing something substantial. He's talking about beans or black eyed peas. Yeah. Just silly lyrics. But I really do like it. It's classic REM in terms of how it sounds. I mean, it's one of those that I would put on like an essential REM playlist because it sounds like REM to me.
Yeah. Oh, it has to be there. Yeah.
Yeah.
My number 5 is, I believe, the first time we've heard this. It's the opener, Drive. So this is a good album when this is number 5. That's the way I look at it. It sets a great tone. It's a great opener, I think. Seems to be about making decisions. Nobody tells you what to do. About the futility of being a teenager. Really, I like that tick, tock, rock around the clock, shake a leg, ollie ollie. He likes to put those little games and little childhood memories in there. He does it on another song, which we'll get to. But and I hear Peter Buck used a nickel as a guitar pick to give it a different sound. different tone, which is an interesting trick.
Mhm.
If it's true, I read that somewhere and I thought that was cool. Michael Stipe said the Hey Kids Rock and Roll was borrowed from David Essex Rock On, which is cool too, because that was a song I remember from my teen years. And that came before punk, and it always resonated with him as, he could relate to that song. Hey kids, rock and roll, rock on. And they had that Jimmy Dean reference in there as well from Essex. But really good song, great opener. And the sequencing is, I think, one of the strong points of this album. It really is. Everything's laid out really nice. It breaks it up, the dark stuff when it needs to be broken up, whether it's with the instrumental or with the more high energetic tunes. There's a couple instances of that on here. And I think the opener and the closer are first rate. And the second to last track are first rate too. The way they really have a good sequence going on. Not sure if it's did they produce their own album? I should know that.
Usually Scott Litt is their producer. I
think it's Scott Litt with
Scott Litt usually
and R.E.M.
And R.E.M. So I'm not sure if Scott Litt had an influence on the sequencing or the guys in R.E.M. wanted it this way. Whatever, they came to a great choice. So that's my number 5.
Nice. Okay, so number 4 for me is Drive. That's how strong, like you said, that's how strong the album is that this one here kind of falls here. I think this was going to give you a clear indication of how smart R.E.M. was to bring John Paul Jones in to do the orchestration for this album. There's a great part in it about 2 minutes in where the oboe sound starts to come into the track. So they're already using different instruments than even they did in the prior to and Out of Time, which I thought was really good. Then later on in the song, kind of near the bridge, they start to get that wailing guitar that kind of mixes in with the strings that are going on in the song. I thought was really good. And so I wanted to come up with a way to describe the song because it's so different. I said, it's like Nick Cave was asked to do a pep rally for Gen Xers. That's the only way I could think to describe the song. I thought it was kind of interesting to do it that way. So.
Very good.
Yeah, it's number 4 for me as well.
There you go.
Drives. So we're all right there in the same wheelhouse. And I want to say it's been covered recently. I think Jason Isbell covered this song. I know he's covered Driver. I know he covered Driver 8. But it's one that I've heard as a cover by somebody else. Again, interesting opener, a slow opener. And again, I like the kind of automatopoeia that he uses with smack, crack, shakalaka.
Yeah, that's cool.
Tie one to your backs, tie another one to your backs. And then I just love how, you're going, baby, and then like the do, like, like you said, Brian, John Paul Jones is kind of the 5th member on this album. He really adds a lot to several of the tracks. You talk about a genius, John Paul Jones, absolute genius. I would have liked to seen him produce more records. To see what that would have done with his career. But anyway, Drive, it's a great song. I love how it sounds. I love how it sets the tone of that album. So yeah, not much more to say. Number 4.
Yeah, my number 4 is one, obviously you guys have a little bit higher because I haven't heard it yet, but I'm going with Night Swimming. I know a lot of people think this is one of their best songs, and it is, but it's 4th best on this album for me. I love the piano, the intro here. And Michael Stipe is great at the stream of consciousness kind of lyrics, not traditional song structure. That's what's unique about it. Good storytelling, the imagery, it triggers back that nostalgia, the memories of nostalgia that you grew up with, bonding with friends, innocence, that kind of thing. Maybe they're misfits or lost souls or somebody you have something in common with, and you're telling stories about those times. John Paul Jones is in on this one as well. And I like when you can take images like water and the moon and build upon that into the story. And that's what this does. Very reflective song. It's a beauty. And another time I might have had it even higher. But when I listened to the album recently, it came in number 4. So that's where I'm going to put it.
Hey, at least it's in the top half.
Oh, it's way up there. It's in the top 3rd.
We're at number 3. I mean, you guys know that I'm not a huge fan of Elvis, so maybe the song could have been higher if it wasn't for the fact that he was kind of parodying Elvis Presley through Andy Kaufman in the song. But I think it's a true classic. Like I said, it's kind of an homage to Andy Kaufman. The song was featured along with The Great Beyond on the soundtrack to Man on the Moon, the movie by Milos Forman, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that Rich, right? Milos Forman directed it. It's kind of, I think it's a little bit of country rock mixed with the jangle pop that R.E.M. is notorious for. Very powerful track that uses this is like one of the few on the album actually where all 4 band members are featured, and you can hear all 4 band members, you know, playing their instruments in the song. So I thought it was kind of neat. Music video is notorious. I think there was a running joke between Michael Stipe and Kurt Cobain because Michael was trying to out Kurt in a song, so that's why you hear all these yeahs and Man on the Moon. That's like him taking a little stab at Kurt there, saying I can put more yeahs in my song than you can. So I thought it was kind of interesting. So
yeah, great pick. What do you got at 3, Sam?
Number 3 is Everybody Hurts. That's you know, you hear it all the time. There's a funny scene in the Office where I think Dwight is listening to Everybody Hurts sitting in the car. He's Angela or somebody's broken up with him, and he's sitting in the car listening to it, and he rolls down the window. Just, you know, that's just always stuck out to me. But yeah, I mean, it's one of their huge hits. It was all over the radio. You know, beautiful lyrics, the kind of a early 1960s sound, the doom 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 doom, kind of that almost like In My Room by the Beach Boys kind of type sound to it. Again, this is like the pinnacle of the theme of the album here. You know, if you're on your own in this life, the days and nights are long. When you think you've had too much of this life to hang on, everybody hurts sometime. Everybody cries. You know, it's Michael Stipe saying, you know, we're all human, the biggest and the smallest, and we're all covered in crap. So I might as well sing about it and make a hit. So that's what they did, and it's a beautiful song. I mean, what else can I say?
It is. My number 3 is Find the River. You guys mentioned it, the closing tune here. I just love the imagery and the lyrics in this song. First and foremost, I love it as a closer. It's one of these stop and smell the roses type of songs where life is short. Enjoy and embrace the experience. Make the most of the time you have because it's going quick. And it says here, we're closer now than light years to go. I mean, I love that image. Pick up here and chase the ride. The river empties to the tide. All of this is coming your way. And it's be prepared. The end is coming at some point for all of us. So enjoy and I like the flow of the river too, because that's kind of a symbolic thing for life, you know. It empties into the ocean and kind of buries itself there. So that's my number 2, and this is the one that worked its way up. If I did this last year, it probably would have been 6 or 7, but I really enjoyed it with the headphones on the other night when I'm listening to it. So that's where it's at. Number 2,
I've got Everybody Hurts Here. I love the sincerity of the song. I think it's great that it can be both like melancholy and uplifting all in the same 5 minutes.
Yes.
I thought now that Sam said that about the Beach Boys, that I just recently listened to that album is why when you mentioned In My Room, but I thought you're right. And I also thought it had a lullaby quality to the song. It almost sounds like a lullaby that's being kind of sung to somebody. But again, this is one of those ones where, as powerful as the song is, John Paul Jones's strings in this thing, as they're bringing this song home at the end, just sends it completely into another dimension. It brings it to another level, I think, that it just wouldn't have gotten to otherwise. He just did a fantastic job on it. Definitely an iconic song for them.
Definitely. All right.
Number 2 for me, Brian had at number 3, Man on the Moon. Again, probably the part of the song that I dislike the most is the hey baby, that part is it's silly. I wish everything else is perfect in the song, but that's the one part. It's kind of like in my generation with like the stuttering. I'm just like, just sing it straight, you know. But yeah, what can you do? It's been recorded. It was a huge hit.
Yeah.
I do like how, Brian, you were mentioning the yes, because he throws in 4 every time. Yeah. And then it's like two different songs, because that chorus is just pure pop, pure 60s sounding, you know, if you believe they put a man on the moon. And then I love the background with the, you know, man on the moon.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic song. I sing it all the time. You know, it's a pretty perfect REM song. I mean, there's not much else to say. I love, you know, Let's Play Twister, Let's Play Risk, just all sorts of like, just again, funny stuff, kind of like earlier with Dr. Seuss. It's just a great song. It really is.
Yeah, it's my number 2 also, for all the same reasons you guys have mentioned. It's a cool song. I mean, I was not an Andy Kaufman fan, but it's a wonderful tribute to him. You know, the Elvis thing, I can live with the little "yeah, baby" thing. I know where it's going, but it can be annoying as well. And I love the cultural references strung together, like Elvis. You got Freddie Blassie in there, the moon landing, Charles Darwin with the apple, and there's a Mata Hoople, all this mixture of different things, Monopoly 21, checkers and chess, Twister, Risk. He's throwing everything at you, and it flows beautifully. It is a perfect song. It's a perfect pop song, and it's my favorite one to listen to on the album. I just think there's one that is a better song. It's a special song, and I put that at number 1. But this is a fun song to listen to, and it is classic REM. Down to the big one.
Down to the big one. Okay, so this is the number 1 song, period, for me as an REM fan. This is like my favorite song by REM. So I got Night Swimming at number 1 here. I love the circular piano riff that was just, you know, Mike Mills was just kind of messing around with, and Michael Stipe heard it and then decided to put some lyrics down to it. They did try to release it as a single and never went anywhere. So that's why most people, they're not really aware of the song unless they've taken the time to listen to the whole album. But so that's why even my wife was surprised when she said, you know, what's your favorite REM song? And I said Night Swim, and she's like, she never even heard of it. It's because it never charted and things like that. So again, I love the lyrics to it about days gone by, the innocence of youth fading away, the things you were willing to do when you were young that you have apprehensions about as you get older. It's really just an authentic REM song all the way through. And Michael Stipe, I think it was Sean from RTTC mentioned it, and I'll mention it too. What gives it that authenticity more is that Michael Stipe's voice breaks several times during the singing, so he's just pouring his heart in there, and he's not worried about whether there's going to be a perfect delivery of the song. He just wanted to sing it from his heart. So I put it here at number 1.
I had a feeling that would happen.
Yeah, it's number 1 for me too.
Yeah.
I knew that was immediately. That's the first song I wrote down, was Night Swimming. Again, that piano, and I like how the song kind of starts like it's like they're shutting things down. Like you can kind of feel like some rustling, and then do 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 do. It's just beautiful. And I've even tried to like look up like how to play it on, and I don't play keyboard or piano, and it's one of the ones that I would want to learn first because it is so circular. Just a beautiful song. Michael Stipe's voice is just incredible on it. Again, it's all about longing for days gone by. I mean, the line that's really like kind of punchy to me is, night swimming, remembering that night, September's coming soon, I'm pining for the moon. And what if there were two side by side in orbit around the fairest sun, that bright, tight, forever drum could not describe night swimming. Man, whenever it's just beautiful the way it's written. And again, John Paul Jones adds that extra spice to it with the orchestration. And this was the first song I remember listening to it, and I want to say I heard it like on Tom Petty radio or something on Sirius XM, like on his Buried Treasure show, where he was hosting the show. It was either his show or Bob Dylan's show. I think it was Tom Petty's show, but he played the song and was just talking about how beautiful it was. And then he always gives little tidbits, and he said, arranged by John Paul Jones. And that's when I first heard it. I was like, John Paul Jones did classical arrangements. So you know, it's a perfect song. I mean, it is. It sounds nothing like REM, but then again, you hear Michael Stipe's voice and it sounds just like REM. It's a perfect song.
Yeah, I went in a little different direction. I picked another perfect song, Everybody Hurts. I know it's been played to death and this and that, but it's beautifully written and so dark and relatable. Anybody that's been through any kind of despair or whatever the circumstances are. It's about coping with life and all the ups and downs that it has to bring, maybe channeling some sadness and self-pity into hope and survival. I love that hang on, because everybody hurts. Take comfort in your friends, which is a key line. It speaks to that loneliness and despair. Hold on, the refrain. A great vocal, much like your guy's favorite. I think this he pours it out on this song too. And you are not alone. He wants you to know that it doesn't matter if it's tragedy, depression, loneliness, maybe bullying for children. You are not alone. Hold on. Everybody hurts sometimes. I think it's a wonderful song, and this album is very good. So it's hard to line these up in the correct order, but we did the best we could. And like I said at the beginning, I think 10 of the 12 songs are strong. It's just a matter what degree of strength, whether they're decent, excellent, perfect, masterpiece, whatever term you want to use, but they're really, really good. So now we're going to rank the album on the 1 to 10 scale, 1 being chopped liver, 5 being mediocre, 10 being perfection. Where are you going to put it, Brian?
Yeah, this one, I think this is a clear case of an album that is greater than even the sum of its parts, and the sum of its parts are really damn good.
Yeah.
I've got it at easily a 9.75 for me, but I've got it number 6 overall for my albums of all time.
Right.
Wow.
So I mean, and I don't give out. I got like 2 10s that I give out. The rest of them are.
How dare you do that?
I don't go there otherwise. But I think it's a masterpiece album. I think it's one that 10 years from now people will appreciate. 20 years from now people will appreciate. Anybody who gets into music, this will still be a classic album, I think.
Very good. Oh, you got to go. That's fair. I mean, that's what your heart tells you it is. 9.75. What about you, Sam?
Well, I was going to say before I give it a ranking, I hope that this ranking gives some faith back to Brian for my blonde on blonde choices. So maybe we're a little bit closer now. I'm gonna give it a solid 8 because I think the lowest album that we had for me, and I think for Rich too, was More of the Monkeys a couple weeks ago, and this is definitely a better album than More of the Monkeys. But yeah, it's it kind of falls with that kind of that 90s problem of being a little bit too long for me. I think again they could have cut out definitely the bottom 2 that we mentioned with New Orleans, and then for me Star-Made Kitten, for everybody. Those 2 dropping it down to about 40 minutes instead of 48, I think that would give it a little bit more of a strength in my ranking. So for now it's a number 8.
Yeah, I have to split hairs on this too. I'm going to give it an 8.75 because my lowest ranking up to now, like Sam said, was More of the Monkeys, and I gave that a 7.5. This is clearly better than that. If they had those the 2 songs that we buried off the album, it would be probably a 9.5 for me. I think it's that strong, but it's a really great album. Anybody that hasn't heard the album, please go out and check it out. It's definitely worth your time. There's so much in it, depth-wise and musically, the lyrics. Stipe's got a great voice, even though it's unusual. It works with the tone and the content of the lyrics he's talking about. So that's part of being an artist. You have to match your voice to the stuff you're talking about. He does it really well. So
Yeah,
I got to give him that. And the band's excellent. Like I said, they have stability. They stuck together through 20 plus years together, 25 years, whatever it was. 80 till 2011. That's a long time. So that was almost 40 years, actually. Who's counting? Anyway, thanks guys for joining me on this. This is a great addition to our series so far. Go over and check out Brian at Massey's Maine Entertainment. He and I and our buddy Doc do weekly tandem videos of movies and music from the same year. We're up to 1988. We've got 87's been released. 88 will be next. So hang on and wait for that. Brian, thanks for coming on and joining Sam and I. Really appreciate it. Sam St. John, of course, you got to subscribe to him if you haven't already. He and I have done, this is our 16th classic album ranking. We've done 12 Beatles, maybe 13 when we include the Yellow Album stuff. So we're well into our 30s of teaming up, and doesn't even count the live streams we've done together. So Sam, always a pleasure. And also Sam represents half of the classic Cosmic Torpedoes, the band that he and Glenn KELLAWAY have started. Go check some of those videos out as well. They're really good. So for Sam and for Brian, this is Rich. Thanks for watching. Leave some comments and we will see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.